bx plus c. And we're going to do the same thing at 7.5, except for it's going to be ax squared plus bx plus c. So all of our trinomials have had a to be 1. Like this has been 1 every single time. Today, this is no longer going to be 1. Okay, there's going to be a number in front of your x squared. Okay. First thing you always want to do is check for a greatest common factor. A common factor is a number or a variable that you can divide all the terms by, that you're able to. So like if you can divide every term by 2, you're going to want to divide all of the terms in the polynomial by 2 before you try to factor it. And it'll just make it a lot easier to factor whenever you do that. So I have that as a note on your notes at the top. It says always check for a greatest common factor first. So anytime you're factoring, check for a greatest common factor first. Then I have a table over there at the side. And we are going to fill out this table. Okay, so you're going to look at your 7.4 worksheet or even 7.4 notes, 7.4, anything you have where we've been factoring. Okay, so it's a table and it's talking about the signs of B and C and then how they compare to the signs of the factors of B and C. Okay, so remember, it's x squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so look on your worksheet and find a problem where both b is positive and c is positive. So where both of these are positive. Find a problem on the 7.4 worksheet. Okay, all right, so on number 1, the 2 factors that we used, were they both positive, were they both negative, or were they different signs? They're both positive. So the factors of c, whenever B is positive and C is positive, your factors of C will both be positive. And we're pretty much making you like a cheat sheet for when you're factoring. Okay? So like I mentioned before, the more you do this, the more you're going to realize it, and it's the easier it's going to get. All right, now find a problem where B is positive and C is negative. So where this first sign's positive, but the back one's a negative. Okay. What are the signs of our factors? Are they both positive, both negative, or are they different? They're different signs. So if the first one's positive and the back one's a negative, the signs are going to be different. Now find one where the front number's a negative, the B's negative, but the C is positive. Okay, what are the signs of the factors? Okay, so someone.
For your positive number to be positive, then you multiply it don't have to be negative.
Yeah, if you multiply a negative and a positive, it would give you a negative C, not a positive C. But was yours?
Mine was both negative. Yeah, these both were negative.
They're both negative, -4, -7. Yeah, -4, -7. So they're both negative. All right, so anytime the B is negative and the C is positive, your factors are going to both be negative. And then the last situation is whenever both B is negative and C is negative. Is there one on there where they're both negative, B and C?
Number 10.
Okay, are the signs both negative, both positive, or different?
They're different.
Yeah, they should be different. In order to get a C that's negative, you're going to have a positive times a negative. Okay? So anytime this back number here is negative, your signs are going to be different.
Can you send Cody Brown down to the office? He's signing off.
Yes. Alright, Kobe, you'll just need to watch the video and finish the notes. And here's your homework assignment for tonight. This is over section 7.4. It's not over the new stuff. It's over the previous lesson. Alright, let's get to the new polynomials. Now that you have pretty much this cheat sheet for whenever you're factoring and you're making your table, This can help you to know if your two factors are gonna both be positive, both be negative, or if they're gonna be different. Now, if they're gonna be different, you've gotta figure out which one's the positive, which one's the negative. So you just switch them around. Yeah, you can put it up and get your phone. You just switch them around until you get it to the sum that you needed. All right, let's move on to new material. Okay, so it says factor each polynomial. And it's 5x squared plus 15x plus 10. Okay, so let me write that down. (5x squared plus 15x plus 10). Okay, so if I look at those three terms, 5x squared, 15x, and 10, I notice that 5, 15, and 10 are all multiples of 5. So that tells me that I can pull out a factor of 5. Okay? So if I pulled out a factor of 5, if I factor out a factor of 5, what you're going to do is you're going to divide each of these terms by 5. Okay? And whenever you pull out a factor of 5, you do 5 times 5 parentheses, and now you divide each of these by 5. So 5x squared divided by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, so that would be 1 times x squared, which is just x squared. Then you would do 15 divided by 5, which is 3, so that would be 3 times x, which is 3x. And then you would do 10 divided by 5, which is 2. Okay? So that's the first step in factoring, is to factor out the greatest common factor. So I factored out a 5, and that left me with x squared plus 3x plus 2. Now you can always check your work by going back and distributing that 5. 5 times x squared is 5x squared, 5 times 3x is 15x, and 5 times 2 is 10. So I know I'm good. Now we're going to do what we did before, and we're going to factor what's inside here. So x squared plus 3x plus 2. So we're going to do factors of 2 that add up to 3, that have a sum of 3. Okay. Well, the only factors of 2 are 1 and 2, and it's positive 2, so they're both going to be positive or both negative. They have to add up to positive 3, so that means it'd be positive 1 and positive 2, and they add up to 3. So this factors into, you keep the 5, and then you write your x plus 1 times x plus 2. The biggest thing, the most common mistake I see people making is after they factor out the 5, whenever they go to write their answer, they forget to put this 5 back up here in the front. So don't forget to put your greatest common factor in the front of your answer. All right, what questions do you have for me?
So hard to look at it, because whenever you learn how to do it, it looks so easy.
Yes. And a lot of times we make it a lot more difficult than what it really is.
I looked at this, I was like, what the heck, it looks the same. But that's gonna be different.
Alright, 4x squared plus 32x plus 60. Okay. What you want to check, since there's a 4 in front of the x squared, you want to see if you can divide each of these numbers by 4. Can I do 32 divided by 4? And can I do 60 divided by 4? Yeah, so I can factor out a 4. So let's factor out a 4.
What did you think about it?
Then you leave it, and then you try to factor it like it is, which we're going to do. Alright, so 4x squared divided by 4 is x squared. What's 32 divided by 4? So it would be plus 8x. And what's 60 divided by 4? So that would be plus 15. So it's inside your parentheses, you have x squared plus 8x plus 15. Now we factor what's inside the parentheses. We factor this trinomial. So factors of 15 that add up to 8. So factors of 15 that add up to 8. Rebecca? 5 and 3. Parker, you agree with those? Yeah. Okay, so this would factor into 4 times x plus 5 times x plus 3. Now what questions do you have for me? You have to put this number in front of it. If you just left x plus 5 times x plus 3, it would only give you x squared plus 8x plus 15 when you multiplied it out. And you want it to give you 4x squared plus 32x plus 60. So x plus 5, x plus 3, that's the two factors of this. The original has 3 factors. It has 4 as a factor, x plus 5 as a factor, and x plus 3 as a factor. Alright, let's try the next one. 2x squared plus 14x plus 24. Brayden, could I divide all 3 of these by 2? Yeah, I can divide them all by 2, so let's factor out a 2. Alright, so if I divide each of these by 2, Hayden, what would I get?
X squared plus 7x plus 4.
Hunter, do you agree with that? Okay, so now we have to find factors of 12 that have a sum of 7. So let's list out all the factors of 12. Morgan, what's one pair of factors? 3 and 4. Ariana, what's another pair of factors? All right, well, what are some factors of 12? What's the first one we usually write down? Okay, 1 and 12, perfect. And Cheyenne, what's another pair? Mm-hmm, 2 and 6. And Allison, out of these 3 pair, which ones add up to 7? These right here, 3 plus 4 is 7. So this factors into 2 times x plus 3 times x plus 4. So if you ever get a trinomial where you can factor out a greatest common factor, do that first. Because if you do that first, it can make the problem very, very simple. However, sometimes you can't factor out a greatest common factor. Or if you do factor out a greatest common factor, there's still a number left in front of the x squared. That's going to make your problem entirely different. Well, not entirely different. It's just going to make it a little bit more complicated. All right, so let's look at number 4. 4x squared plus 13x plus 3. Can I factor out a GCF out of here? No, because 4 and 3, 3 is not a factor of 4, 4 is not a factor of 13. Yeah, like 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, so before you just looked at factors of 3 that add up to the middle number. Now you got to look at 2 pairs of factors. You have to look at factors of 4, which are A, which is A. So you got to look at factors of 4. And you also have to look at factors of 3. Okay, and then you have to see what the sum of the middle term will be, because you want the sum of the middle term to be 13. And depending on how you write it out, your middle term could be different. It could not be 13. Okay, Parker, you doing okay? All right, so Because what you're trying to do, it's easier if I just write this part on the board. So this part right here, don't write down. I'm just explaining to you why you gotta do multiple ways. Because 4x squared, in your answer, to get x squared, you can either have x squared or x times 4x. That will give you 4x squared. But also, you can have 2x times 2x. That would give you 4x squared as well. So we don't know if it's this one or this one. Then with your factors of 3, 1 and 3, does the 1 go with the x, or does the 3 and the 3 go with the 4x, or does the 3 go with the x and the 1 go with the 4? Or if it's 2 and 2, is it 1 and 3 or 3 and 1? Okay, so we've got to figure out which of the first factors to use and which of the second factors to use, because it can't just be any of them. It has to be the ones that give you 13x as the middle term. Okay, so let me show you this one. And there are a ton of different ways to go about factoring. So if we factor, we're going to pretty much be factoring for the rest of this week. And then Friday is when we'll start reviewing for our ELC, because our ELC is next week. But if Thursday rolls around and you're still just, like, I have absolutely no clue how to do this, come see me before or after school or during tutoring, and I could show you bukus of other ways on how to factor. I've taught it multiple different ways. Some people get it really, really easily. Some people have a hard time with it. Okay. So first look at factors of the A, and then look at factors of the B. And you got to do them in different orders. So factors of 4 are 1 and 4, and 4 and 1. And then you also have 2 and 2. Now, 2 and 2, if I switch those around, wouldn't it still be 2 and 2? Yeah. So I'm just going to do those once, since it would be the same either way. 2 and 2. Okay. Now, factors of 3 are 1 and 3. So you would do 1 and 3. Or, I need to add another 1, 4 here. Because, well, I can still do 1, 3. So 1 and 4 and 1, 3, and then I could have 1, 3 again. And then for 2 and 2, 1 and 3. Okay.
So we have to add the 2 first, or the 2 factors?
You don't do anything yet. Right now you just write down your factors. Okay. So what this one right here represents, this would represent, because I don't want to. Okay, so what that right there represents, your first terms are both going to have an x and an x. So that 1, 4 means 1x and 4x over here, and 1, 3 means a 1 here and a 3 here. So this first one means x plus 1 times 4x plus 3. Whereas the second one means 4x here and 1x here, and then 1 here and 3 here. Okay, so this one would be 4x plus 1 times 1x plus 3. So this 1 and 4 is for the first term in each one factor. The 1 and the 3 is for the last term, the last number in each factor. Okay, so this one here, that would be 2x and 2x, and then 1 and 3. The reason I don't have to do this one twice is because these two numbers are the same. So if I switch them around, it would still be 2x plus 3 times 2x plus 1, which, if you recall earlier, Allison asked me if it mattered if you did x plus 5 or x plus 3 first, and it doesn't matter. So because they're the exact same, so that's why we only do it once. Okay. So these are all the different possibilities that it could be. You have to go through and figure out which one will give you 13x as the middle term. Now, some people have you go through and multiply everything out and make sure you get 4x squared plus 13x plus 3. You really don't even have to multiply the whole thing out. What you need to do is multiply the two with the x's, like where it's just, well, you know, if you've heard FOIL, first, outer, inner, last, you just have to multiply the two middle ones. So you don't have to multiply the first two or the last two. You just do to check it to see which ones work. You just have to do the outer terms, 1x times 3, and then 1 times 4x. So if we did 1x times 3, that's 3x, plus 1 times 4x is 4x, which equals 7x. 3x plus 4x is 7x. It's not 13. So this first one does not work. Okay, now try the next one. You have 4x times 3, which is 4 times 3 is 12, so that's 12x. And then you have 1 times x, which is 1x. Okay, what's 12x plus 1x? And that's what you want the middle term to be, is 13x. So it's this factor here that works. So these other ones, you can erase it, mark them out, and this one here will be your answer. The 4x plus 1 times x plus 3. Like I said, there's a ton of different ways to do it. This way is the way that requires the least amount of steps.
Why can't we just do what we were doing before?
Because there's no longer a 1 in the front, there's a 4 in the front. If you did x plus 1 times x plus 3, you're going to get x squared plus 4x plus 3, which is not what you started out with. You have to get 4x squared plus 13x plus 3. Ariana, what was your question?
I said that's the shortest way.
This is the shortest way.
Oh my god. I really have never lost.
So you're pretty much testing out all the different combinations it could have, and then you're working it out to see which one actually works. Okay, so let's try the next one.
What would this be used for?
Like that, you know, like that problem we did where it was like area of a house, depending on how much area you would lose if you just took if you changed the width of the house, like pretty much cut off one side and put it to the other, it made you lose some. Also, you use these to graph quadratic equations. A lot of bridges, if you'll notice, the suspension rods come in a U shape or parabola. If I were to graph this, that's what it would look like. And so that way they know where to put the suspensions at and how far out they need to go and if it can support people driving on the bridge. So if you plan on doing any kind of construction, or if you are trying to figure out, if you throw something and you want to figure out how long it's going to take it to land on the ground, this is where you would use that. Anything that has to do with gravity, speed, height, area, you're going to use this. Okay, number 5, 3x squared minus 7x plus 2. Always check for a greatest common factor first. And I cannot divide all of these by the same number, so it does not have a GCF. Well, it does, it's just 1. So you're going to look at the different factors of 3. Also, you're going to look at factors of 2. And then you're going to see what the sum of the middle term is when you multiply them out, and you want it to be -7. Now, look at your box. Your B is negative and your C is positive. What are my 2 factors of this one here going to be, the factors of 2? No, look at your box. If your B is negative and your C is positive, it says they're both going to be negative. So your factors of 2 are both going to be negative. So you said 1 and 2, so it'd be -1 and -2 are going to be the factors of 2 that we use. Now, factors of 3, it's going to be 1 and 3. So factors of 3, 1 and 3. So for your factors of 2, it would be -1, -2. That's one possibility for you to set up. Now, there's another possibility, because right now we have the 1 and the -1 together, and the 3 and the -2 together. But the other possibility you could have is if you had the 1 and 3, you could do -2 and -1. So you could put the 1 and -2 together, and the 3 and -1 together.
You have to put it like this? I don't know.
Yeah, in order for it to be -7x, they would both have to be negative.
And, okay, so couldn't you, so like at the end, you have to find the sum in the middle and then you have to figure out the like problem, right? So couldn't you just go do like one factor in both of them and then solve it the rest of it and see if that's it? Or do you have to keep going with the factors and then you have
If your first one works and you get -7, you do not have to keep going.
okay.
Alright, so this first one, this, for our 2 factors, let me use a different color. This represents 1x and -1x. I'm sorry. This represents 1x and 3x. So that would be 1x here, which is just x, and 3x here. Because x times 3x is 3x squared. Now these represent your -1, -2. So here's -1, -2. So this would be x minus 1 times 3x minus 2. This one here would be 1x and 3x. Okay, so x and 3x. And the back terms would be -2, -1. Okay, so these are the 2 possibilities it could be. Your -1 could be with your x, or your -1 could be with your 3x. It could be either or. You've got to figure out which one works. Okay. So to figure out which one works, you figure out what your middle term would be. So you would do x times -2, which is -2x, and then do -1 times 3x. So what's -1 times 3x? -3x. What's -2 plus -3? Okay. Now, since this is the only other possibility, this one's going to have to work, but we're just going to do it just to make sure. Do x times -1. So what's x times -1? -x, -1x, and -2 times 3x. And what's -1 plus -6? Which is what we want. So this one here would be our answer. X minus 2 times 3x minus 1. Alright, let's try another one. But as the more we do it, the easier it'll get. The better you'll get at it. 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. Since both my c and my b are positive, what are my 2 factors of c going to be? What do we do when b and c are positive? What does our table say? It says they're both going to be positive. So my factors of 6 have to both be positive. Alright, so first you do factors of 2. And you also have to do factors of 6.
If it's positive, you have to put like 1, 6, 6, 1. I think it's the 1.
Now, well, you got to do both, because what are your factors of 2?
1 and 2.
Your factors of 2 are 1 and 2 and 2 and 1. But I'm just going to leave them as 1 and 2, because the first one you can leave. Okay, so you got 1 and 2, and then what are the factors of 6? 1 and 6. So you could put the 1s together and the 2 and 6 together, or it would be 6 and 1. So you could do 1 and 2 and 6 and 1. Now, are there other factors of 6 besides 1 and 6? What are they? 2 and 3. So you could do 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. Or you could do 1 and 2 and 3 and 2. So we have 4 possibilities here. And as I said before, if you go to start working with it and you find the one right away, you don't have to keep going. Alright, so if you write our factors out, these first two is what goes with x. So that's 1x and 2x. So that would be x here and 2x here. These are your back numbers. So that would be +1 + 6. And then the second one, that would be 1x and 2x. And that would be 6 and 1. Okay, this third one, that would be 1x and 2x. And my 2 back numbers would be 2 and 3. And then this last one, that would be x and 2x. And the back numbers would be 3 and 2. So those are all the different possibilities that it could be. So now let's figure out what the middle term is. So you would do x times 6, which is 6x, plus 1 times 2x, which is 2x. What's 6x plus 2x? That's 8x. Do I want 8x? No. So this one don't work. Okay, let's try the next one. First you do x times 1, which is x. 6 times 2x, which is 12x. What's x plus 12x? Is that what I want? Nope, so that one don't work. Okay, let's try the next one. First, you're going to do x times 3, which is 3x. And then you're going to do 2 times 2x. What's 2 times 2x?
4.
And what's 3x plus 4x? Is that what I want? Yep, so this is going to be your answer. X plus 2 times 2x plus 3. Okay, now that we've done, what does that make, 3? Now that we've done 3 of them together, what questions do you have for me? Yes. Well, we haven't done 7 yet. Alright, now let's do number 7. 4x squared minus 7x plus 3. Here, I notice that my b is negative and my c is positive. So what are my 2 factors going to have to be? They're both going to have to be negative. So my factors of 3, we're going to use -1 and -3. So we got to do factors of 4, factors of 3, and then we've got to see which ones have a sum of -7. The middle term has a sum of -7. What's a pair of factors of 4? You got 1 and 4. And then factors of 3, you got -1 and -3. But you could also do 1 and 4 and then do -3, -1. Are there any other factors of 4? What are they? 2 and 2. So 2 and 2, and then you would have -1 and -3 again. Now you could do 2 and 2, -3, -1, but it's going to be the exact same, so you don't have to do those, because 2 and 2 is the same number.
Why can you flip like 1 and 3 on some of them and then not the others? Like, can you do 2 and 1 also?
Like here,
No, like in factors of 3, like,
2 and 1 is not a factor of 3.
no, like for 2, just the factor of 2, can you do 2 and 1?
If I were to flip 1 and 4, and then I were to do 4, 1, -3, -1, my 4 would still be with my -3, and my 1 would still be with my -1 if I flip them both. So you only want to flip one of them. That's like if, let's say, I have Rebecca and Hayden working in partners, and Parker and Hunter working in partners. If I want to switch partners, and if I wanted them to switch, I would only switch Rebecca and Parker. I wouldn't switch Hayden and Hunter and switch Rebecca and Parker, because then Rebecca would be right back with Hayden and Parker would be right back with Hunter if I switched them both. You only want to switch one pair. Don't switch both pairs, only switch one pair, because if you switch both pairs, you're right back where you started. So don't do that.
So you only have to switch it if the numbers are the same.
Yeah, the only time you don't need to do it again if the numbers are exactly the same. Because 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 3 is the exact same thing as 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 1. Alright, so how this would be written out, this would be x minus 1 times 4x minus 3. This one would be x minus 3 times 4x minus 1. And then this one would be 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 3. Okay. All right, let's multiply these out. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Negative 1 times 4x is negative 4x. What's negative 3x minus 4x? Isn't that what I want? Yeah, so that's my answer. X minus 1 times 4x minus 3. Alright, we will finish these tomorrow. And then I have your homework assignment. This will be due at the beginning of class tomorrow. This is over section 7.4. It is not over the new material. Once you get your worksheet, you can turn in your calculator and get your phone. And then once you put up your calculator and get your phone and you have your worksheet, you are good to go. Did I give y'all